Y'all made history down here today now. Y'all made history.
This year, workers in Georgia won one of the most improbable union victories in a generation.
The South got something to say. Bluebird, welcome to the United Steelworkers family.
It happened at Bluebird, the nation's largest maker of electric school buses.
I can't tell you the last time that I've seen a location of this size be organized in the South.
The win here is historic for the largely non-union South, but it's just one fight in a much larger battle, one that could decide whether the transition to electric vehicles is a boom or bust for the workers building them. Automakers, flush with cash from recent federal spending, are flocking to southern states, where wages are low and hostility to unions is strong. But auto workers are fighting back and looking beyond their union base.
When we return to the bargaining table in 2028, it won't just be with the big three, but with the big five or big six.
With the EV transition generating a new push to unionize the South, what can we learn from the workers at Bluebird who did it successfully? And what will it take to turn their victory into a wave? Nationwide, 25 million kids ride about 500,000 buses to school every day. It's effectively the largest public transportation system in the country. Nearly half of those buses are made by the workers at Bluebird. Bluebird was founded in 1927 and created what we know as the iconic yellow school bus. To a region still dominated by sharecropping, it brought modern factory jobs.
When Bluebird came to Fort Valley, so many of the people in that area, they made their living off of picking peaches or picking up the pecans. In comes this industrial job that, hey, I don't have to work, out here in the fields anymore. But then the company has the opportunity to, manipulate that. And by saying, well, hey, we gave you this great job, but we're gonna give you subpar benefits. And so that's what goes on in the South.
For 96 years, they've been non-union. Bluebird's been non-union. I came there when I was young. Now I'm old.
Workers at Bluebird have attempted to unionize many times, most recently in 2001.
We, the younger generation, which I was part of then, were trying to push to get a union in place. Most people would just turn around and walk off. Bluebird would fire you if they knew you were affiliated with trying to get the union in.
Did you know anyone who was fired at the time?
Yes, sir. Quite a few people.
Fast forward to today, and only 4% of workers in Georgia are members of a union, less than half the national average.
Bluebird is our home away from home. You don't have any energy to do anything else besides eat, shower, and sleep, and you're right back at Bluebird the next day.
Dee Thomas got a job at Bluebird to pay the bills while she was in college. She's been working there ever since. 2 years ago, a coworker asked Dee if she'd be interested in helping with a fresh attempt to create a union.
So when this person came to you, what was your reaction?
What you been waiting on? I was like, yes, I'm on board. I'll help do whatever I need to do to get a union here because we really overworked and underpaid.
The idea for the union this time started with 2 longtime line workers. One of them was Patrick Watkins.
We're having a conversation about how they mistreat us and how we're not getting paid fair wages. And we just decided, hey man, we need a union.
Most alarming to me was, people feeling like they weren't being treated with dignity and respect. People feel like they're going to work every day and they're being taught to like kids. And that's just not acceptable. So I called Patrick and I'm like, y'all ready? He's like, yeah. So Miss Wilhelmina Hardy came down. She's an organizer for the steelworkers.
The first person I contacted was Patrick Watkins. The first thing he says to me is, I don't know you. That's that fear factor.
The real risk of being fired stopped Bluebird employees from trusting anyone or from talking openly with each other about unfairness on the job.
What I was hearing from the workers, management was showing favoritism. How can I say it? So there were more white managers versus black, in the higher up leadership roles.
They were treating people wrong. They talk to you in any kind of way. They write you up when they want to write you up.
You work 5 years and got 2 days of vacation, but you actually don't get the 2 days until the 6th year.
And I'm like, wait a minute, you have to work 5 years to get 2 days of vacation? That can't be true.
We're loyal to the company, but the company's not loyal to us.
To create a union, this core group needed to convince a majority of their 1,400 coworkers to vote yes in a company-wide election. They set out to talk to every Bluebird employee, at home or on the job.
You go and talk to them during your break time and see how they feel about Bluebird. You know what I mean? You don't just throw the conversation out though. You see how they feel.
We were able to have the conversations because they saw familiar faces. They saw people that came from the same walks of life as them. People like to have somebody that they can hold accountable.
The organizers also talked about how Bluebird was suddenly flush with cash, thanks to the Biden administration's infrastructure bill, which gives money to companies making low-emission school buses. From that program alone, Bluebird announced it would make over $1 billion in the next 5 years.
People can see, they can read, okay, the company got $1 billion. Okay, let some fall to the employees.
We actually pulled it up on the phone and let them see the first quarter results. They were receiving this money from the government. So everything is going in an upwards direction except their pay.
The infrastructure law also forbade companies that took the federal money, like Bluebird, from using it to oppose union organizing. But that was only on paper.
As far as the company standing neutral,
we were having meetings just about every day when I got to work. And they would have a board up, you don't need the union, they're just gonna take your money back to Pittsburgh. And
they had this big picture of me plastered on the board saying, this union lady is lying to you.
I'm gonna give my personal experiences and hopefully clear the air of some of the myths that people been telling. If you look at all the good jobs in Middle Georgia, just take a second and sit down and ask yourself, what are the good jobs? Who makes good money? And it ain't a long list of jobs that make good money. Graphic packaging, $26 an hour. You walk in the door at Armstrong, $26 an hour. Anchor Glass, BASF, Cayman, the railroad, Georgia Power. All these places have one thing in common, a union. May 11th and 12th, do the right thing, go in there and vote yes.
Bluebird, a school bus manufacturer in Fort Valley, is easily the county's largest employer. But workers are wanting to unionize due to working conditions. Jessica Cha spoke with one worker about why organizing is important to them.
Weeks before the vote, Dee decided to take a risk that no other worker had. She went outside and spoke to a local news crew on her lunch break.
I'm like, I'm gonna do this interview. I'm fed up and I feel like if I do this interview and get terminated, then I'm not supposed to be here. The company has forgotten about the people. We the ones in there working, but they making, all the decisions.
I have to take my hat off to her because she really laid it all on the line.
Everybody should be able to think for themselves and choose which way they want to go because this could be life-changing for people. The co-workers seen me and they was like, well, you gonna get fired. And I was like, no. I said, y'all got to start standing up. Y'all can't keep letting this stuff go on in here.
It was a turning point in the campaign.
Bluebird workers are scheduled to vote on May 11th and 12th on whether to organize through the United Steelworkers Union.
I was beyond nervous. I mean, I'm just being honest. I can't lie to you. The day of the vote count, I was so nervous, I felt sick.
Bluebird workers have voted to unionize. Nearly 700 people voted to create their own union. Only 435 voted against it.
A lot of us had tears in our eyes. We were crying, but it was because of joy. You know what I mean?
It actually was like a weight was lifted off my shoulders.
One of my fellow co-workers, he came up and he jumped on me. Hey man, we won, we won.
The only thing I could say is I wish it had happened in 2001. I could have gotten a lot more from it. But it is what it is. And like I said, I'm not really doing it for myself. I'm doing it for the people that come behind me. It's time for change down south also. The fight's not over when you vote the union in. The fight is just beginning.
The workers at Bluebird are now negotiating their first union contract. Dee is on the bargaining committee. Early in the process, she got an invitation that seemed to make a big impression on Bluebird's management. A meeting at the White House.
When I came back from meeting the president, the management, everybody was acting different.
When we got into negotiations the week after she returned, one of the comments that was made, from the onset was, now, who went to D.C.? Because the word had gotten out.
Bluebird's victory fits into the case activists have made, and President Biden has embraced, that clean energy jobs can be a win-win for workers and for the climate. Since the Inflation Reduction Act was passed, companies have committed over $100 billion towards projects like electric vehicle and battery plants, representing over 80,000 new jobs. Above all, those jobs are going to southern states. A few hours from Bluebird, both Hyundai and Rivian are building billion-dollar EV factories, the two largest government-subsidized industrial projects in Georgia's history. Like most factories in the region, they're non-union facilities built by non-union labor.
I know the other workers in the other big factories in Middle Georgia. I know they're thinking, my cousin over there can do it. We can do it here too.
As auto workers organize with newfound militancy, the time could be ripe for others across the South to replicate Bluebird workers' success. The future of the American middle class may just depend on it.
I think that the lesson should be, that's how you win. You have to utilize the people that are in the communities that you're trying to organize to help with the organizing efforts. Because unions are grassroots organizations. And if you don't start at the bottom and use the people that are members to grow that organization, then you'll never succeed.
Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like and subscribe to see more videos like this one. If you have ideas for stories you'd like us to cover next, drop them in the comments below.